Everyone, and welcome to the Crush It in Sales podcast. Thank you so much for joining me this week. My name is Melinda Van Fleet, and I'm a sales strategy and success coach for business women. And I infuse human design, intuition, and mindset along with tactical tips that I have gathered over my many years in business. So again, thank you for joining me. This topic is a big one. And I'm going to be sharing a very triggering to myself personal story in this mistake tip podcast to help you either stop doing something that we were doing, my husband Ryan and I, Good Karma Sport Fishing, or just be aware of this so it doesn't happen to you too. Because let me tell you, it's an expensive mistake. Not only in the growth of our business, but also what we were paying. And it's just been a really hard lesson in the fact that I didn't stick up for my intuition, if that makes sense. It's something Ryan and I podcasted about together very briefly a few months ago, and I'll look for that episode and put it in the show notes. But we had a falling out with our web developer this past fall. I think it was in September. And we had hired him in a state of desperation in 2018. So my first mistake, and I'm going to be loading this podcast with lots of mistakes, is hiring or making a decision out of desperation. We desperately wanted to up-level Ryan's website. And we were new to the space in terms of online business. We don't have family that are entrepreneurs. We've figured everything out by ourselves with like courses and just trial and error, to be real honest, street smarts and trial and error. And we hired this man. It was someone my husband knew a little bit, never met in person, but knew a little bit because the man also has a fishing forum. So Ryan was like, hey, I know he can do websites. I want to use him. So his price was very fair. He took a couple months, which I guess is what it is. It was a very stressful process. I did all the work in terms of guiding the ship. I wrote all the content. I did everything. It took me several weekends. Because mind you, I was also a full-time sales rep in this time frame too. And created the website, got it launched. And my husband wanted to also pay extra each month for SEO. Mistake number 2. Learn something before you hire it out. Now this goes against what the majority of people say in the entrepreneurial or coaching space. So this podcast may be a little triggering for you, but hopefully it's more eye-opening than a negative trigger or I don't agree or that's not what I've heard, things like that, right? And I'm using my crazy voice. Everyone says, I've heard it said a million times, so I'm going to use everyone, that in order to grow, you need to hire a team and you're not going to be a millionaire unless you have a big team. I've heard it all. I've heard Grant Cardone say it. I've heard so many people say it over the years, right? And again, that is what is so wrong with a lot of this information in this space is we listen to all of these other people that have had different experiences, are wired differently. They might have started their business in a blue ocean, which is something I talk about a lot. It's very different now to start a business than it was 10, 15 years ago. Extremely different. It's very crowded, extremely crowded. It's a red ocean. It's a bloody ocean, lots of sharks. And so we went with this man, paid him extra for SEO, and had no clue what he was doing. Absolutely no clue. So every other month, my intuition, which I've been developing and now is like very like, woo, but back then it was kind of like in intro stages, I'm going to say. But now what I realized what it was my intuition saying, hey, something's not right with this. Something's not right with the SEO. Something's not right with what we're paying him for. I don't really think he's doing anything. All your charters are coming from the work that you're doing, the podcasting, the TripAdvisor, and it's not coming from this man. Like, I just don't believe it. And my husband, and I say this with love, didn't want to listen. He did not want to listen. And he would shut it down. I don't want to get in a fight with him. He's very temperamental. We don't have time for this. Like, every type of shutdown you can imagine, he said to me. And so I kept going. Over 3 years. Mistake number 3 was that I didn't really trust and know my intuition was right. So basically, as an entrepreneur, starting a business, we should have listened to our intuition. We should have learned about SEO and websites, gotten better with WordPress, learned more, but we didn't. Major mistakes. We hired out too soon. We shouldn't have hired out. We should have learned. And I see these mistakes happening all the time, which is really why I was called to do this podcast. I see it. I see it with websites. I see someone's website and now, it's making me crazy because I went through this and I'm so angry at myself, and I've had to really do a lot of like mindset work and shifts around like not being mad at myself. I rarely ever get mad at myself. I'm not that person. And this has been really, really big struggle for me because 3 years, and now we're at square one again. Luckily, my husband's business is very big, so it's not going to hurt our business. It's more of my future plans for the business and what I foresee. I've got to start over. So now, one of my 3 focuses, which I've already shared, is learning more about SEO and becoming an expert with our own websites, right? So we found a new website developer. He's a super nice guy, but he's very left brain. I'm going to be honest. He just checks things off the checklist and keeps going. And that's really what I think this space is about. These SEO and web developers, they're left brain people. What do I need to do? Okay, then they get it done. Sometimes they double check it. Sometimes they don't. So you better double check it because you can't count on them to double check it. And I just think that's the space. And they're busy. They have lots of clients. They make lots of money, or money, I should say. I don't know. Some are probably more profitable and successful than others. So let's just say money off of how many clients they have, right? So they're not spending time really looking at your website, trying to figure out how to make it better. Heck, we just changed things over and it was shocking, the health report. So that's why I was like, okay, I need to roll up my sleeves as an entrepreneur and work on this. Because if you don't work on this, that's where your sales are just going to go down the tube, right? So what do you have in your business that you know you need to roll up your sleeves and work on? Don't ignore it. Don't ignore your intuition. Don't ignore the fact that someone on your team might not be doing a great job. Let's face it, you're the business owner. You're the entrepreneur. You're the salesperson. You're the person running your household. If you're a stay-at-home mom and you're listening to this, your household, that's a business. There are so many people that we hire out of desperation that we should be learning the job ourselves first. Or if you can hire out, definitely keep an eye, trust your intuition, see what's going on, and make a change. If you need to, don't keep going. Don't keep going. So now, when I should have learned in the beginning, which would have taken me a year. I've given myself a year to get this all like organized and straightened and really learn. I could have been so much farther ahead. But instead, we listened to all these coaches and experts out there. Oh, you need to hire out. You need to build a team. Hire out, hire out, hire out. You can't do it all yourself. Well, there are some things that, yes, you probably need to learn to do yourself before you hire out. Or you hire someone to be like truly on your team. I think there's a big difference out there. I think that's a huge thing with VAs. It's the same thing. I went through 2 different VA situations in 2021. A VA team, very nice girls, nothing negative about them. They are sweet, very tried to help. They just not me. They're not me. They're not me. And then the second person I hired said she was a lead generation expert. She was not. She was a glorified VA. Again, nice person, nothing wrong with her, but she wasn't what she said she was. I ended up coaching her on what to do. So then I was like, why am I paying for this? So think about these things. Before you make a hire or a change in your business, is it out of desperation? Is it something you should be learning first and doing first so you know and you have a solid foundation of knowledge? And then what is your intuition telling you? Are you following your intuition? Does it feel good to hire this person? Does it feel good to make this change or pivot in your business? Or is it like, oh, no, I need to cut bait here fast. Cut bait. Telling you, cut bait. It will save you in the long run and your sales business will grow. So that's all I've got this week. I hope you really took this to heart. And even if this doesn't affect you right now, remember this story and remember this podcast, because if you are an entrepreneur or in sales, or again, just running your household, this will come up at some point in your journey. It is just a natural part of doing business. So use my human design 3-5. The 3 is the martyr, what goes on inside my head and all my mistakes, and my 5 is my teaching to the world. So I'm living in my design by sharing this story. So I hope it helps you. So check out the show notes for all the ways to connect, private one-on-one coaching, my courses, etc., my private Facebook group, Beyond Basic. And until next week, I hope you crush it in sales. Thanks for listening.